Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Sukirti Madhvi, welcoming all of you for trimester 2, session 1. So we are very, very happy. We are delighted that we have all successfully completed 3 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, and today we are entering into the 4th chapter. So before we begin, let us all chant Mangalacharan together. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Thapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya, Krishna Presthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Deshatarine. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So we hope that all of you have completed your quiz for first trimester. May I request all those of you who have completed your quiz, kindly raise your hands. Not manually, there is an option of raising hand in your screen. So if you can raise hand there so that we get to know how many of you have completed. Okay, we see 31 hands up. 32.
+5.
Okay. We are waiting. If you have completed your quiz, quickly raise your hands. Give us the thumbs up.
Raise your hand and thumbs up.
So either. Either raise your hands or give us a thumbs up, whatever is easy. So we see here 44 plus 3, 47 of you. So may I ask you, those of you who have not attempted, if there is any specific reason which is stopping you for attempting the quiz? Would you like to type it in the chat window? Okay, Bhavin, you are saying you are not able to get the certificate. Please write an email to info@studygita.com. Actually, getting certificate is all automated. You have to download it from the website directly. Once you complete the quiz, then it will show you the option of downloading the certificate. But in case if you are finding it difficult, then send us a mail to info@StudyGita. Nilesh is saying quiz is not appearing in my screen. Nilesh, not this rewind quiz. I'm talking about the quiz which is there on our website. So you have to go to studygita.com and there you have to enroll for the course, Gita Mastery course, and there is the quiz. No, Vedant, it's not only chapter.
I think it is still pending for them.
Okay. So are you sharing the link of the quiz? Or can we show them how to go to the quiz? Because some of them are saying that they are not able to locate. See, it's very simple. You have to log into studygita.com and you will find the whole course is there. And for each chapter, there is a quiz. So you have a quiz for chapter 1. Once we complete a chapter, the quiz is uploaded. So there is already the quiz for chapter 1, 2, and then there is a final trimester quiz. Plus, along with the quiz, there are some OBA, which is known as open book assignment. So it's okay, we are trying to show you all. We are sharing the screen. Just a moment. So first you have to log in. You can see on your screens now this has been shared, the website. So this is the website page where you log in, and then after logging in you have to go to your My Courses. You have to click My Courses. And there you can see like Gita Mastery course. You click there. And then you would reach on this page. You have to scroll down. And then you can see trimester 1, GMC, chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. So for each of the chapters, there are quizzes which you are supposed to do. And if someone has any issue further, please write an email to info@StudyGita and we will help you out of how to reach the quiz and how to take it. Good. So we really want all of you to attempt the quiz. Okay, so we are sharing the screen back now and let's continue with our session. So this time, because we are starting a fresh chapter, so there is no quiz from the previous one. And here we begin. So this is chapter 4, which we are getting into, which total has 42 verses. It is divided into 4 sections. And the first section, which we are going to study today, it's probably one of the most important sections of Bhagavad Gita. I mean, it's very, very important section. Out of these 10 verses, there are 4 memory verses. So memory verses means that those verses which are really useful for our day-to-day life, which we should memorize and which we must not forget the instructions what are given in these memory verses. So this chapter is, this section is known as Eternal Education. And as you can see, the chapter title is Transcendental Knowledge. So now, like any academic knowledge, when we acquire some, when we want to get some knowledge, so we have to find a particular college which is well affiliated by certain boards, and then we take admission there. So first we check the college. So here in this chapter, Transcendental Knowledge, Krishna is going to talk about various aspects of transcendental knowledge, beginning with how do you find where you get that knowledge. So this first section, Krishna would be talking about how do we find that which college is good and which is not for acquiring this eternal education. So he's explaining the whole eternal education system in this section, which we are getting today. So this shloka 1, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Vanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bravit.
So here we see that this particular verse is very important, and this is being spoken by Sri Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord speaking. And what is he saying? The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga. Yogam proktavan aham avyayam. Yogam means that science with which a living entity can connect with the Lord. So that science of yoga, who gave? Krishna gave aham avyayam, and this is imperishable, which means this is eternal knowledge. Whether it is 2020, whether it is 2021, or it is
21,
okay 21, 21, 30, 21, whatever. Any we
2020 say 40.
40. Okay, so any century we go, or so any time scale we are talking about, but this knowledge is imperishable, or it is eternal. It doesn't get degraded. It is the bottom. How we need to understand it, that it is applicable in all time, place, and circumstances. It is not affected by that, by changing time. Like everything else, I mean, some of you who have studied, especially technical knowledge, it keeps changing, right? Doctors would have an experience that whatever they learned in first year, a few things would have changed definitely by the second, a lot of some more would have changed by the fourth year. So Krishna is saying, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So here Bhagavad Gita's history is given. So Krishna is saying, this is not the first time I'm speaking this. I've already spoken it earlier. So Krishna has given this history. And from this, we also see that this was spoken to sun god. So this is very interesting because we see sun as a ball of fire. Science explains it as a place where there's a fusion reaction happening. And I think from hydrogen, two molecules of hydrogen join together and helium is produced. And therefore, there's a lot of heat that is produced. Light and heat is produced. So that's how sun is burning. So they see it as a material, completely object made up of matter. But scriptures explain that like earth is a habitable place, similarly sun is also habitable, but not for a body like ours. Our bodies, we have a lot of earth element and water element, and this body won't survive there, and therefore in this body we cannot go there. But if the body is predominantly made up of element of fire, that's not a problem. So this knowledge was given to sun god, which means the ruler of sun, the personality who controls the sun or who runs the sun. And then it was later given to Ikshvaku, and then from it came to it was given to Manu, and from Manu it came to Ikshvaku. So Ikshvaku is actually the ancestor from which, in the line of whose Lord Ram appeared. So this knowledge was meant for kings because the purpose of the king is to serve the citizens and to guide them in a way that so to inspire the citizens to be aware of their nature, that they're not this body, they're spirit, soul, and that they can move in spiritual direction. So that was the objective of ruling the citizens. So the kings were trained in this knowledge, and also we understand that this Bhagavad Gita is a standard book of knowledge, and that is why it was given to the kings.
Now it is very interesting here what we can see, that Krishna is telling that he gave this knowledge to Vivaswan, who gave it to Manu, who gave it to Ikshvaku, and as Prabhu was describing, in his dynasty came Ramachandra. And can you imagine how long back Krishna is talking this whole transaction would have happened, this conversation would have happened when he gave the knowledge to Vivaswan, because there are so many generations which had come after that. And Krishna is remembering that, and he is telling that I gave it to Vivaswan.
It is a little over 2 million years ago that Krishna is talking about. So a lot of people say Bhagavad Gita is 5,000 years old. Yes, because Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Mahabharata war happened roughly 5,000 years back, but this knowledge, Krishna is giving a previous reference, which is 2 million years old. We'll look at that calculation shortly. So let's look at the insights. One, very important, that God is source of transcendental knowledge. Krishna says, Aham. This imperishable science of yoga, who gives? I give. Who else can give? Nobody else is capable of giving. So this knowledge originally comes from the Supreme Lord. And therefore we understand that this knowledge is Veda. Veda means knowledge. It has come from Supreme Lord, and Bhagavad Gita is considered to be essence of the Vedas. So this knowledge is coming from God, and therefore this is superhuman. The Sanskrit word is apurushaya, because we are defective. So like there are so many self-help books in the market, so many people propose their own theories. This is good and that is good, and you should try this and you should try that. When the person himself is imperfect, so whatever he proposes also would have some defects. But here the person proposing is all perfect Supreme Lord. And that is why it is imperishable. And same knowledge now is in our hands in the form of Bhagavad Gita as it is. So it is superhuman, it is perfect. And what is the system of transmission of this knowledge? Like most of us have gone to schools and gained knowledge, right? So it's a similar system. All the only thing is that the guru has to be bona fide. Like that is also there in the schools. They have to go through certain
B.Ed.
qualification,
Yeah.
and then the school probably takes an interview and whatever. So there's also a formal process of inducting teachers. So here the process is very similar. That the system of transmission is Krishna gave this knowledge to Vivaswan, Vivaswan gave this knowledge to Manu, Manu gave this knowledge to Ikshvaku. So from the Supreme Lord came to Vivaswan, Vivaswan then became the spiritual master and gave this knowledge to his disciple Manu, Manu then became his spiritual master, gave this knowledge to his disciple Ikshvaku. So like this, the system of transmission is from guru to disciple. The only difference between our education system and this system is because the teacher may teach in our case in schools, but they are not bound by that knowledge. It is not that whether they follow or not follow that knowledge, or whether how is their uh, anyway in our schools what mostly is taught are just skills, or like mathematics, and so we have mathematical skills, we have other kinds of skills, but when it comes to values and culture, that's hardly taught. What is the God's laws? That is not really taught. So that is taught by this spiritual system of transmission. And Krishna also spoke about Vedic time scale. So we'll look at all of these one by one.
Knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is of non-human origin and thus perfect. Perfect source and hence perfect knowledge.
So Vedic time scale is right here in front of us. There, some of you may be aware that we have 4 yugas: the Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. That is denoted by the words S, T, D, and K. Satyuga, Satyug. So let's begin with the smallest one, the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. If we double that, then we get Dwapar. If we double that, we get Treta, and if we double that, not double Treta. So 432,000 into 2 is Dwapar Yuga. 432,000 into 3 is Treta. 432,000 into 4 is Satyuga. So this is how the ages are.
So this is the time actually. This is the number of years. So Kali Yuga spans over 432,000 years.
Solar years.
Yeah, and that number of years when multiplied by 2, that is the span of Dwapar Yuga. So in this way we see that there is one Yuga cycle. So one Yuga cycle means once comes Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kali.
Cycle in a cycle.
But then, yeah, Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kali, that is one Yuga. But then the whole Vedic time scale is cyclical. So one completes, and the moment the Kali Yuga ends, yes, Satyuga starts again.
So from Kali Yuga, Satyuga will start again. Then at the end of Satyuga, the Treta will come. From Treta, Dwapar. From Dwapar, Kali will come, and again at the end of Kali Yuga, Satyuga, next Satyuga will start. So what has happened is that in the beginning of Treta Yuga, Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So this is where Bhagavad Gita was actually spoken by Lord to Vivaswan. And now Arjuna is listening to Bhagavad Gita at the end of Dwapar Yuga, because Mahabharat war was fought to just at the end of Dwapar Yuga, before Kali Yuga began. So that was to 21 lakh 60,000 years later. So this is the time span Krishna is talking about, and we are listening here 5,000 years after.
And the
5,000 years
years
after Mahabharat war. So in our case, we are listening to it again 21 lakh 65,000 years after it was spoken to Vivaswan.
So the whole point is that to Arjun, Krishna was giving a reference of a conversation which has happened 21 lakh 60,000 years ago. And he was telling that time I gave this knowledge to Vivaswan. And let's see what Krishna says next. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarashayo viduhu sakalene hamahata yogo nashta parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession. Evam parampara praptam. Praptam means to acquire. So how does one acquire this eternal transcendental knowledge? Through the parampara. Krishna is using the word parampara. So parampara means a chain of disciplic succession, which means that suppose person X gives this knowledge to person Y. So X is guru and Y is disciple. After some time, Y becomes the guru and he gives this knowledge to person Z. And after some time, Z becomes the guru. So this is how a guru shishya parampara goes on. And further Krishna says, Imam Raj Rishyo Viduhu. This is how these saintly kings understood. Raj Rishyo means saintly king. So not the demoniac kings, but the kings who would rule their country by dharma. Raj Rishyo. So this is how they understood. Further he says, Sakalene mahata kal. Kal means time. So with the course of time, what happened? Yogo nashta parantapa. Nasht ho gaya, destroyed. So the whole knowledge, actually the succession was broken, and hence the science which was traveling in this Guru Shishya Parampara, it appears to be lost. So there are certain insights from this verse. First is it is talking about the function of time. So how Krishna is telling, Sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa, that with time or everything was lost. So that is the function of time. Time destroys. Time is the destroyer basically. And then second, we understand process of spiritual knowledge transfer. So there can be two types, proper process which Krishna has described here, and anything apart from that is improper process. So before we try to understand this, coming up is a reflective exercise which we want all of you to attempt. We are sharing it here shortly. Must be this one. Yes. Can we go to the next slide? So here it is on your screen. Choose which of the following changes or deteriorates with time. Just quickly mark. Oh, there is a problem with the question here. It should be multiple choice. So we are receiving the responses, and somehow we have made a small little error here. Here you were supposed to choose all the items possible which would deteriorate with time. Yes, Akshya, Vamsi, Vishwanath. The whole point is that if we carefully look throughout the list, youth, buildings, beauty, memory, eyesight, health, car or bike, mobile, clothes. Actually, all these things deteriorate with time. Is there any one thing which does not deteriorate with time, which is mentioned in the list? We buy new clothes and after some time it becomes old and then we just like throw them. We acquire youth and we start aging and then our old body itself we discard. We move into the new flat and after some time it starts looking old, and after some time there are so much of repair and maintenance thing that we decide to change the flat. So like that, actually everything deteriorates with time. So with this exercise we wanted to establish the fact that how the function of time is to destroy. And that is what exactly Krishna is telling in this verse when he is saying sakalene hamata, with the time things get destroyed. So we are all trying to defy time and stay young forever. The only way to escape the effect of time is to surrender to Krishna.
So there are some more insights. One, the proper process Krishna describes very clearly here is disciplic succession, a succession that Krishna himself began. And that's the way to receive spiritual knowledge. What is the improper process? One, not to accept Krishna as a Supreme Lord. So if you do not accept Krishna as Supreme Lord, then what value does Bhagavad Gita has? Then there's no point in accepting that book itself. And there are many people who write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. They will explain all the 700 shlokas. They will not explain about Krishna. They will not tell that Krishna is Supreme Lord. So if you understand, then there is no point in reading such commentaries, because if the author has not accepted Krishna as Supreme Lord, then all that he has spoken and trying to explain Krishna's words, loses its meaning. Or somebody who does not follow parampara. So somebody claims himself to be a devotee, but he does not accept any bona fide disciplic succession, which means he himself has gone through the book and trying to analyze and give his understanding. So we understand that the person, all of us are imperfect, and if we try anything on our own, then it will be defective. So if somebody does not follow parampara, then it will be defective. And whimsical interpretation. So there are things that I like, I represent. There are things which I don't like, I misrepresent. So somebody who's not chaste, will give his own understanding and interpretation based on what he likes and what he doesn't like, and not what is the intent of the Lord. So therefore, that becomes the improper process. And therefore, when Srila Prabhupada was translating Bhagavad Gita and writing commentary, he made this point: there are so many translations available, but none of them represent the will of the Lord as Lord wanted. And therefore, he did not just say Bhagavad Gita, he said Bhagavad Gita as it is. Bhagavad Gita Unmay Urvel, Bhagavad Gita Yatha Roop.
So actually, we are quite sure that all of you would have a copy of this Bhagavad Gita. This is the Bhagavad Gita by Srila Prabhupada.
So, received in disciplic succession.
Received in disciplic succession. And if we go to the page...
End of introduction.
So end of introduction, we find this. I don't know if it is visible or not. But here is the entire table of the Guru Shishya Parampara. So the whole parampara is mentioned here just after the introduction, which starts from Krishna. So the first number is Krishna, and then Brahma, Narad, Vyas, Madhava, Padmanabha, and like that. And finally, the last person in the list is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So actually Prabhupada has authored this Bhagavad Gita, and that is why he calls it Bhagavad Gita as it is, because it comes in a bona fide disciplic succession. So there are so many versions of Bhagavad Gita available in the market. But if we want to pick one up, so don't go by cost, don't go by looks, don't go by what is easily available. You must check whether it is in a bona fide parampara.
Like Sugiti was talking about, that if you had to choose a college, how you would choose? Would you look at the college building or the name or how the principal has greeted you nicely? No. You will see whether after completing the college, would you get a degree or not, recognized by the government. If at the end of the day they give you a certificate not recognized by anyone, then you just wasted your time.
So leaders and administrators must read and follow Bhagavad Gita It is specifically designed for them. So as Krishna was telling, Imam Raj Rishyo Vidu. So this knowledge is meant for the leaders. This knowledge is meant for the administrators. This knowledge is not my retirement plan only. This is my life plan. So that is how those of us who are in important positions must understand this transcendental literature.
So connect your plug to the socket which is connected to the powerhouse, else there would be no electricity. So bona fide parampara matters.
So it is just like what Krishna is telling here. He's talking about the parampara. So parampara is just like you are plugging in your, let's say, mobile phone for charging. But if that plug point is not on the backward connected to the electricity supply, then even if you plug in and you turn it on, but it will not charge. So similarly, if we are not connected to bona fide parampara, then even if we are reading Bhagavad Gita, the transformation of heart would not happen. Sa evayam maya tedya yogah proktah puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hi etaduttamam.
This very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is told today by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Bhakto si me sakha cheti. So Krishna is saying that this is very ancient science of relationship of a living entity with the Supreme. And why is Krishna telling to Arjuna? Krishna could have picked up anyone in the battlefield and could have spoken. He could have spoken before the battlefield. Anyway, the situation was created by the Lord. Arjuna became bewildered. And but Krishna specifically chose Arjuna to speak this because he was his devotee, Bhakta and Sakha. He was a devotee, surrendered soul to the Supreme Lord, and he was his friend. He was very affectionate and very favorably inclined, willing, and he was rendering so much of service to the Lord. He was a dear friend of the Lord. So that's why Lord was giving this knowledge to him. And Krishna is saying that this is the qualification to understand the transcendental rahasyam. This knowledge is rahasyam.
Secret.
Is secret, transcendent mystery of this science. So same point is coming again and again. See, the whole Bhagavad Gita is in Sanskrit, so any Sanskrit scholar can understand. Correct? Logically, if there's a book in English, and if I know the language, I can read and I can understand. But Krishna is saying it is mystery. Even if I'm great scholar of Sanskrit, and then I do years of study of Bhagavad Gita, I cannot understand unless I'm a devotee and a friend of the Lord. So these are the qualifications to receive this knowledge: devotee and friend of the Lord. So which means I have a very, I am submissive, I am surrendered to the Lord, which means when Lord says something, I accept. I may question, trying to clarify my understanding, but I don't challenge. Right? So I don't challenge, but I inquire. So that is the mood of a devotee, and friend is very favorable. So if Lord says something, then the person is willing to help and serve.
So it's very interesting if we see just like how we want to acquire certain knowledge. So first thing is like for whom, like if I'm checking out a course, so I would think that for whom is this course? Let's say if there is a course in psychology, so I would try to find out whether it is for beginner, it's a foundation level course, it's an advanced level course, it's a PhD level course. What level course is this? So that exactly Krishna tells in verse number 1 that this knowledge is for leaders and administrators. Then in the second verse, Krishna is telling which are the authorized universities to acquire this knowledge. So whichever university comes in parampara, that university and the representative from that university is authorized. The third thing is telling what should be our qualification. So if I want to take a course, what is the qualification? 50% marks in my 12th board or 60% marks in my graduation, or what is it? So Krishna is telling what is the qualification to receive? You have to be a devotee and a friend.
Yeah, imagine otherwise you join a college and you revolt against the teachers and the principal and the teaching methodology, and you sit on dharna, how would you gain knowledge? So even if the teacher wants to give knowledge, we have to be little submissive and little, lend our ears to the teacher to hear and understand and inquire and clarify. Otherwise, we cannot understand even in normal situation.
Warning: the demoniac do not accept Lord Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. So that is why we must be very careful what edition of Bhagavad Gita do we read. Arjunovacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katham etad vijaniyam tvam adau proktavaniti. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivasvan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed the science to him? Now Arjuna and Krishna, they were very, very close friends. Arjuna was extremely fond of Krishna, and he would, like, whenever they were together, whenever Krishna would visit his palace, so they would be always like hanging out together. So now Arjuna is telling, hey, I know you, and you're talking that you instructed this knowledge to Vivasvan. Now we heard that there is a gap of 21,60,000 years. How come you instructed him? You are of my age. And how did you instructed him? So that is the question what Arjuna is asking here. So Arjuna is raising a doubt. Now we may think that just now Krishna is telling that you are my devotee and friend, and now he is doubting Krishna. So why is Arjuna asking? So first, to enlighten the ignorant people. So before this point come in our mind, or maybe this question came to your mind when Prabhu was explaining the time gap. So Arjuna is asking from Krishna directly so that such thoughts or doubts can be settled. So Arjuna is asking on behalf of us. He wants a clarification so that we all are satisfied, not that Arjuna had any problem.
Or for example, people have doubt that how can God take birth as, to mother and father, human mother and father.
How can God be born?
How can God be born? Like Krishna appeared to Devaki and Vasudeva. So these are some very, very difficult questions for common man to understand. And of course, this Bhagavad Gita is a very good book to very wonderful scripture to understand and enlighten ourselves on all these very important and yet very difficult questions.
The second point why he asked is to defeat atheistic people. So those who are atheistic. Now ignorant is another compartment, and atheist is a separate category.
Who do not know.
Yeah, ignorant are the one who do not know, and you tell them and they would understand. And then atheistic are those who are quite envious of Krishna. So for them also, that what is it? So let Krishna explain. And then thirdly, so Arjuna is giving an opportunity to all of us to hear directly from Krishna. Because if Arjuna would not ask this question, we may get this question, we may not get this question, but then we would not get to hear from Krishna. So Arjuna is actually that way helping us out. So like how in the class, if someone asks a question.
That's why it is good to be in a class with intelligent people. We may not get the question, they may get question. They ask and say, it's a good question. I never thought of it. And the teacher will answer. So Arjuna has given Krishna an opportunity to explain that the nature of God.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me vyatitani Janmani tava charjuna Tanyam veda sarvani Na tvam vetha parantapa Ajopi san avyayatma Bhutanam ishvaropi san Prakritim swamadhisthaya Sambhavana atma mayaya.
So here we see that Krishna is saying, in the first verse, we look at the translation in a moment, he's saying that we have taken many, many births. Aham Veda Sarvani. I remember all of them.
Sarvani. Everything.
Yes. Veda means I know, knowledge. I know all of them. And you do not know. And then he says that my body is imperishable, avyayatma, and I appear how? Atma Mayaya. I appear by my own sweet free will, by my energy I come. I am not forced. Nobody can force me. I am Supreme Lord. I come on my own whenever whenever He wants. Free will of the Lord. So the personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of enemy. So here we see a stark difference between Arjun and Krishna. So as Sugita was explaining, if you read Mahabharata, of course there are many, many places where we see that how Krishna is actually the Supreme Lord. There are so many devotees described in Mahabharata also who know Krishna's nature and who offer him that respect and worship him. Right? But as Arjun and Krishna had such a wonderful, loving relationship, and still there's a difference between them. One is Supreme Lord, and the other is servant of the Lord. So Krishna and Arjuna, they have performed so many pastimes in previous yugas. Krishna remembers all of them, but Arjuna does not remember. And therefore, he's asking such a question. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, appear. And although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So here Krishna is emphasizing this point that in our case, we take birth, we grow, we attain adulthood, then offspring is produced, then the body begins to dwindle, and finally, that is the nature of our body. And what is the nature of Lord's body? It never deteriorates. It never becomes old. So in some religions, when you talk about God, they have an understanding that God must be very old. That is the oldest person. People knew God 1,000 years back, 2,000 years back. People know God must be very, very old man. But actually, the Lord's body is ageless. He never deteriorates. And he appears out of his own sweet will in his original transcendental spiritual form. So there's this beautiful verse from Brahma Samhita. Prabhupada quotes this verse in the purport, and I quoted here because in this verse, 6th verse, we say, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So Krishna is speaking this here, and it is also recorded in Brahma Samhita and so many other scriptures, but this is a beautiful verse, so we just put it here. Ramadimurtishu kala niyamena tishtan nanavataram bhuvaneshu kintu Krishna swayam sambhavat paramah pumanyo Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is always situated in various incarnations such as Rama, Narsimha, and many sub-incarnations as well. But who is the original personality of Godhead, known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also. So a very, very similar verse from Brahma Samhita. So from this particular verse, we derive a great insight. God is God, living entity is living entity. And they are different. They are eternally different. So this is a huge learning point. And if you can understand this slide, then we are making a lot of progress in spiritual life today, now.
So actually, as Krishna said in this verse, that I can remember everything, Arjun, and you do not. So we have both taken lots of, we have appeared so many times in different ways at different circumstances. But Krishna, because he's the Supreme Lord, he remembers everything. And living entity like Arjun, like us, so we are forgetful by nature.
Yeah, for example, if I were to ask you exactly at this point, 8:45 yesterday, what you were doing or what I was doing. So maybe we spend some time, some of us may actually be able to come up, oh, yesterday we were doing this. But what about a week back at 8:45? Yes, on the Friday evening. And it's very difficult for us to remember. So Krishna remembers, living entity forgets.
Then Krishna has a transcendental body. His body, it is described, is made of Sat, Chid and Anand. Sat is eternal, Chit is full of knowledge, and Anand is full of bliss. So those are the components of Krishna's so-called body. So his body is completely transcendental, whereas we have material body which is made of so many bad elements. Actually, everything which is inside our body is like it stinks. It's bad, like blood and pus and mucus and bile and all that. So our body is made of that, whereas Krishna's body itself is made of bliss. Then Krishna, for him, the body and the soul are not different. Though for us, we studied right in chapter 2 that we are not the body, we are the soul. For Krishna, there is no such different thing because it is transcendental. So soul is transcendental by nature and soul is a part of Krishna, but we have this body which Krishna does not have. Krishna does not change body because he has a transcendental body, so he does not have to change the body, whereas living entities, we keep changing the body after body, different types of bodies also, not necessarily that every time we change and we get a similar human body. So we keep changing bodies. Then Krishna is free to appear by his own will, Atma Mayaya, by his desire. And we are forced by our karma. How many of us were asked before we were taking birth that such and such parents and such situation, is it okay? Is it comfortable for you? Can I assign you? Will you take birth there? Or do you want to take birth? We were not asked. Why? We are governed by the karma. So whatever we have done, we face the reaction. So as a reaction, some of us have got beautiful bodies, some of us have got some medically challenged body. Some of us have taken birth in a family which is very challenged. Somebody has taken birth in the family of a very rich aristocratic people. All that is governed by karma, not Atma Mayaya. So it is not by my desire. And then Krishna's body, because he always have the same body, because it is transcendental, it does not deteriorate.
Body, intelligence, and memory does not deteriorate for the Lord.
And for living entity, the body deteriorates, the intelligence deteriorates. As we grow old, even our memory deteriorates.
And next birth, we don't remember anything in the previous birth. So it's a complete wipeout.
So this is a difference between the living entity and the Supreme Lord. And Krishna is very emphatically setting the ground rules here. So he is telling us to understand, to Arjun, he's telling us to understand that how we are always different from Supreme Lord. And in what all aspects are we different from the Supreme Lord.
Okay, so can you type the name of the chapter in the chat window, because we're getting a lot of it.
What chapter?
Is the name of the chapter?
Okay.
What is the name of the chapter that we are studying right now? Yes, Shashi. Yes. 4.
Samir, that is not the name of the chapter. That is number of the chapter. It's a Shashi and Niranjan Shetty and Akshaya
Hema,
and
Rajaram,
Jaydev
yes.
and Hema and Rajaram and Vinka and
Thank you. So
many of you are
yes.
typing it. So yes, the chapter what we are studying as of now is transcendental knowledge. So these are all aspects of transcendental knowledge. So how a jiva is different from the Supreme Lord, it is transcendental knowledge.
Yeah, and it's a huge point of learning. If we understand this properly today, if we understand this, then we make a
remarkable progress in our spiritual life.
Light year progress we make in our.
I belong to Supreme Lord. Let me stop trying to be Lord. It's always frustrating. So this is our problem. We try to be Lord. We try to become Lord. We act as if we are the controller, and then I am not able to control, and then it is frustrating.
Although Krishna is the oldest person in the universe, he never grows old. He appears again and disappears in his changeless form. Like sun, it rises, travels, and then sets to rise again. So this is a very, very beautiful analogy for us to remember that how Krishna is the oldest and yet he never grows old. He appears and then he disappears and then he appears and he disappears, and he's changeless.
यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्. So I'm sure many of us would know this verse, and those who don't know, probably after today you would also know this verse, because this is a very important verse. Again, it's a memory verse. So second verse was memory verse, and the seventh verse is memory verse. And here Krishna is telling certain things. He is telling first that when does he appear. So he says yada yada hi dharmasya glanir. Yada yada means whenever and wherever. धर्मस्य ग्लानिर, धर्म का नाश होता है या धर्म में क्या कम होता है, like decline in religion. So wherever there is a decline in religious practice, bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya, and a predominant rise of irreligion. Adharmasya means irreligion. So when the irreligion increases and there is a decline in dharma, that is the time that I descend myself. Krishna is saying tadatmanam srijamyaham. Ami, he is referring to himself, that he personally descends whenever there is a decline in religion and rise in irreligion.
So these are the insights. When does Lord appear? So we saw that he appears when there is a decline in religion and rise in irreligion. So Lord has to come and fix the things. Another thing, beautiful thing that we understand from this is that who's the one whose responsibility is, or from whom dharma comes. I cannot decide dharma. You cannot decide dharma. It is the Lord who defines and establishes dharma. What is right, what is wrong, what is pious, what is sinful. So all these things are decided by the Lord. You and I, we cannot decide. And that is the problem which, we are infested with these days. Because it is us who decide. Actually, the philosophy now towards which we are moving is, if you feel it's right, do it. Right? So there is no question of dharma itself, whether it is proper, improper. You may feel it is proper, or you may feel it is improper. I feel it is proper, I will do. What is your problem? Right? So the situation is, because we do not accept any authority, but whether we accept or not accept, Lord is always witnessing us from within. So Lord is the one who defines and establishes dharma. And here the word Srijami is mentioned here, where Krishna is explaining that Srijami can mean creation, but we know that Lord is ever existing. We already saw that. So which means then he appears, like the sun appears, on the horizon at sunrise. So similarly, when this situation comes, the Lord appears. On his own, he comes. And let's look at a few more things about avatar. So we'll see that.
Before that, there is a reflective exercise. So it's a very simple and I think probably very useful exercise. What you have to do is, you have to mark the real quality of the following things. So for example, heat is given. Now, what is the most striking quality of the fire, which if it is not there, fire. So if it is not there, it's not the same thing. Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So real quality of water, yes, it flows. Among the three options, flowing is the best. Fire, the heat. If the fire has no heat, what kind of fire it is? So that is the real quality of fire. Chili means it should be hot. Otherwise, So
Otherwise, we feel that, oh, our money has been wasted.
Yeah.
Why did I buy this?
Or sugar, it should be sweet. If we eat and it is
So though sugar is white and though sugar is crystallized, but the essential quality of sugar is its sweetness. So anything which is white and crystal need not be sugar. But then if it is sweet, then yes. So that is how this is the dharma. So the dharma of sugar is to be sweet, the dharma of fire is to heat, the dharma of water is to flame, the dharma of chili is to be hot, and the dharma of living entity is what?
that is the question.
So this is the dharma which is defined here. It's our intrinsic nature.
Dharma really defined, it means what is our intrinsic nature.
It does not change with a change in faith. The real dharma of a human being is to serve the original person, the Supreme Lord. So as we would see, like the sugar, it is sweet under all circumstances. So similarly, if you observe human being, if you observe yourself, if you observe your relatives, if you observe your neighbor, if you observe your boss, each one of us is actually serving. So now, whom do I serve is different, but I am serving. So I may be serving my husband, I may be serving my in-laws, I may be serving my boss, I may be serving my dog, I may be serving my children, but I am constantly serving. So that is the real dharma of a human being.
So this is a very, very important slide, and if it's possible, take a screenshot or make a real good note of it.
Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. So now Krishna is telling here, Srijamyaham. So only the Supreme Lord can give us what is the proper dharma, what is real religion.
So certain facts about Avatar. One, that the Lord is eternally situated in the spiritual world, and then for certain reasons he descends in the material world, and when he does that, he is called Avatar. That he is descending in the material world. So he comes with a mission. He is mentioned in scriptures. Otherwise, anyone and everyone can claim that they are God. If one is claiming to be God, then he has to show and the reference in the scriptures where it is mentioned that so and so person is Supreme Lord. So scriptures explain, at a scheduled time, this particular incarnation will come. What is the form of the incarnation? What would the incarnation do? So many details are mentioned in the scriptures. Place can appear anywhere. Because Lord is Atma Mayaya, message is as per the audience. So depending on where Lord appears, for what purpose, what is his mission, accordingly he gives his message. And what is the common purpose of all the avatars? Is to lead the living entities in the material world towards God consciousness. So these are few quick facts about Avatar, the Lord when he descends in the material world.
Paritrāṇāya sadhūnām vināṣāya ca duṣkritāṃ dharma samsthapanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge. So now Krishna is telling when he appears and why he appears. So he is giving 3 reasons here, and 3 reasons, if you will understand, you would memorize this verse also. So first reason he says, Paritrāṇāya sadhunam. So sadhu means the pious people, the devotees of the Lord. So he's saying Paritrāṇāya, to deliver, to safeguard, to protect the sadhus. So to deliver the sadhunam. Vinashaya cha dushkritam. Now dushkrit means those who do all wrong things, abominable things. Adharmic people. So what Supreme Lord does to them? Vinash. Vinash means annihilate, complete destruction. So that is the second reason. So first reason is to protect the sadhu. Second reason is to destroy the miscreants. And third reason he says, dharma samsthapanarthaya, samsthapana karne ke liye, to set the foundation of what? Dharma or religious principle. So these are the 3 reasons: to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion. I myself appear. When does he appear? Yuge yuge, millennium after millennium. So every yuga he keeps appearing. So why does Lord appear? These 3 reasons. Now who is a sadhu? So a person who follows Krishna consciousness. that person is a real sadhu. Sadhu is not by your academic knowledge. Sadhu is not by our intelligence. If I'm really intelligent, if
dress.
I'm truly intelligent, then I would use that intelligence in understanding Bhagavad Gita. So then I become a sadhu.
And not by dress.
And not by dress,
Because-
not by external appearance that a person becomes a sadhu. And then definition of dushkritam. So dushkritam is the foolish people who are lowest among mankind, who though they may be very, very educated, they may be very powerful or wealthy, but if they reject Krishna consciousness, then they come in this category of dushkritam. So this is what Krishna explains here.
Lord can do everything just by his desire. He need not come personally. The prime purpose of Krishna's advent is to satisfy his devotees. So among these reasons which Krishna has given, Paritraya Sadhunam is the main reason why Lord comes. Because Vinashaya cha Dushkritam, there are many agents of the Lord who can do that on his behalf. For them, he need not come.
Or Lord just sitting in Vaikuntha just desires and the demons would be destroyed. Like not necessarily that he has to send some agent.
Sometimes he personally comes for pastimes, like
Yeah.
he came and killed Ravan, and he came and Narasimha and killed Hiranyakashipu. He came and killed so many demons as Krishna came. So many demons. When he was Vrindavan, he was killing. When he went to Mathura, he was killing. When he went to Dwarka, he was killing. Because he came, that was one of the things for which he came. But that is a secondary reason. The primary reason he came to experience the loving reciprocation from his devotees.
So the time is 9:02. We will stop here and
We'll
we
just
will
complete
continue.
this verse. Is that okay? This
Okay.
is the last verse.
Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna.
This is also a memory verse, very, very, very important verse. If you understand this verse, if you know this verse, you'll get out of the cycle of birth and death. This is the promise of this verse.
So here it is mentioned that one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activity. See, if you read first line, Janma. Janma means appearance in Krishna's case when he's taking birth or he's appearing. Karma means activities. So Janma and Karma, Cha me Divyam. Divyam means transcendental. So Krishna's process of taking birth or appearance and the activities what he performed, both are transcendental. And he says one who knows the transcendental nature, tattvataha, one who acquires the knowledge about that, does not upon leaving this body, tyaktva deham, deham means this body. So when I give up this body, tyag kiya, tyaktva, when I give up the body, punarjanma naiti. So there is no rebirth for such a person. So that is Krishna's benediction.
And what happens to him? No rebirth then? Where does
And
he go?
attains my eternal abode.
So real knowledge, one should have real knowledge about Lord's appearance and his activities, and he must understand properly, philosophically, and in detail that how these activities are not like yours and mine. Our activities and Lord's activities are completely different. Our birth and Lord's birth is completely different.
Yeah, Lord took birth with 400 form. And he had so many jewels, Kaustubh jewel and other jewelry he was wearing when he appeared from the womb of Devaki. How many of us took birth in that form and then we changed our form? So Lord appearance is transcendental. We have to study that.
Yes, so if we know this in detail, then two things happen. One, we do not take birth again. We don't acquire another material body. So no birth, death, old age and disease for us. And we go to Krishna's own home in the spiritual world. Oh, there's another verse.
Yeah,
This is the last verse.
So we will stop here.
Okay.
So we will stop here, and next session we request you to read till verse number 24. So we will start from verse 10 and we would try to cover till 24. So kindly read that. So thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare